Today we're going to talk about 3 things that the employer and the insurance company must do to get you back to work if you've been injured on the job. Let's start. It's also known as what is called the return to work and or the WC-240. Everything in Georgia is form-based. This one is a WC-240. And so what is the first thing? If you have been injured and you've been taken completely out of work, in order for that employer to get you back to work, they have to go through this 240 process or this quote-unquote return to work process. And so what does that entail? Well, the first thing they must do is they must send out what is called a job description. In that job description, they're stating what you will physically be doing in this job that they have either created or that they have for you to return back to work. So the first thing they have to do is send a job description, and they're supposed to send it to the doctor, the authorized treating doctor, yourself, the injured worker, and then if you have an attorney, they should be sending it to an attorney at the same time. Oftentimes, these adjusters don't necessarily remember to send this to the injured worker and the injured worker's attorney. Regardless, that's one of the rules under the 240 rule. And so they're supposed to send the job description, and then what happens? Well, the next thing that happens is that doctor has an opportunity to take a look at your medical file and then look at the job and say, I don't think they can do it. I'm going to reject this as something they cannot do. That's one option. Or they can say, yes, I agree completely with this. Absolutely, they can do that whenever you want to start them. That's the second option. The third option is they can say, I don't like the way this job is described as them having to lift something or whatever. I want to modify it. They can only do this part of the time or no more than no sitting or standing, as much as they can stand or limited time frame, whatever. But the doctor can modify it, and that would be the third option. Regardless, if he rejects it, the 240 process is done. If he agrees with it, well, then the next step is that the employer insurer will send you, the injured worker, a WC-240 that says, great news, your doctor has signed off on a job for you to return back to work. We need you here on this date, at this time, at this location to start this job. And at that point, if you don't return back to work, they have the right and the ability to stop your weekly checks. Now, if you do return back to work, what happens then? Well, if you return back to work and you walk in there and say, you know what, I can't do this job. You don't even know what it is, but I just can't do this job, and walk out. They can still keep your benefits suspended. The law requires that you make it 1 day or 8 hours. After that 1 day or 8 hours, if you stay working there and work more than 15 days, then your income benefits will stop and you are returned back to work. If, however, you don't make it 8 hours, we talked about that, they can still suspend your income benefits. If you make it more than 8 hours, but don't make it for 15 days, then they are to immediately cut back your checks or cut your checks back on. And so you have to be real careful in the WC-240 process when you do return back to work. It's something that I would recommend you speak with an attorney. If you have one, you speak to your attorney. If you don't have one, you should speak to a Georgia workers' compensation attorney and make sure you understand the ins and outs. It's a very, very tricky time and a very, very important time. If they're able to cut your income benefits and you have to file a hearing to get those benefits cut back on, you could be looking at 9 to 11 months down the road before you get a decision. If they're not paying you along that line, you need to have 9 to 11 months of savings or family that can support you. That's not something that most people know about, and so it's something you want to certainly be aware of. If you would like to know what a WC-240 form looks like, we will attach the link into the description below, or you can also go to the Georgia State Board of Workers' Compensation and look for the WC-240 form under the Forms tab. We hope that's helpful. We'll talk to you soon.